ॐ त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तिसुदेशिकेन्द्रं द्वैपायनं सूत्रकृतं मुनीन्द्रं श्रीशङ्करं भाष्यकृतं यतीन्द्रं मद्देशिकञ्चापि नमामि विद्यै। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या संप्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लवरहित प्रज्ञानगणः प्रत्यगतो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ओम प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। Okay, pranams everyone. So we are in the second chapter, Sloka number 16. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Nasato vidyate bhavah na bhavo vidyate satah ubayorapi drishtontah tvanayos tattvadarshibhihi. So Bhagavan is establishing in this sloka that Atma Satyah, Anatma Mitya. Or in other words, also we can say Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. And we saw Satyam, the definition of Satyam is that one which exists in all three times, past, present and future, and that which has got an independent existence. And the definition for Mithya is that which exists only in the present and that does not have an independent existence, has got dependency. We also saw, when we actually discussed about Satyam and Mithya, when we gave examples, we saw another important difference or another important thing to note about Satyam and Mithya is Satyam need not be experienced, but it can still exist. Mithya can be it can be experienced, but it is not considered to be true. So we saw the example of mirage. Mirage is in our experience, in yet the water that we see there is not true. And the same thing with regards to the rope and snake example. The snake is experienced, the rope is not experienced. And yet the rope is the truth, the snake is Mithya. So that just because something comes to our experience does not mean that it is the truth. And we try to establish this Atma Satya and Anatma Mithya we also went through the Avastatraya Viveka, and we established that Atma is the one which is always in existence, and Anatma has got a relative existence, or it's a dependent existence. So Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, and the benefit of it is, we saw in the last class, the benefit is we should understand that the world is not real. We should not give too much of importance to the world. Anything that has got a relative small period of time that it actually has its existence in the world, we need not give it too much of importance. And then we said, last class I also said that we will actually go through how Adi Sankara had actually given an explanation for this sloka. And he had approached this sloka in a series of steps. We did not go through the same steps now, but we had actually covered all the points that he had actually covered in his steps. Anyway, for general benefit, out of our own curiosity, just to satisfy our own curiosity, we'll just go through what he had gone through in those 8 steps. The first step he says is Seethoshnādi Sakaranam Asat. Seethoshnādi Sakaranam Asat. The previous sloka we talked about Sita Ushna. All these are at the Anatma level. The Sita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha is all anityam. We saw that it is all anityam. It has got a temporary existence. It comes and goes. So because it comes and goes, so we said it is Anatma, it is Mitya, it is part of Mitya also. And therefore, because it comes and goes, he says it is all Asat, it is all Mitya. And this is the hypothesis he wants to establish. This is the pratigna he takes. And then he brings out the second step. He says, what is the reason for him to take it? What is the reason for him to take this Sita, Ushna, all these Anatma as Asat? He said the reason is Vikaratvāt. Basically, he is giving the cause why they are all Mitya. And the cause that he is giving is because they are all ever changing. Anything that is changing is Mitya. It does not have a absolute existence. It has got a relative existence. And therefore it is Mitya. Now, after having established this, he will now try to counter certain arguments that can come from various other schools of thought. So basically he is raising an objection himself, and he will actually counter that objection. The objection that he first takes upon this is Shoonyavaada prasangaha. Somebody can raise an objection or doubt saying that if everything is Mitya, if the whole thing is Mitya, the whole world is Mitya, then we can also say that only Shoonyam exists. There is nothing. Shoonyavaadam. There is nothing there. Why Atma? Even Atma is not there. Only Shoonyam is there. Now, this is the argument that can come from the Shoonyavaada school of thought. And this is the argument he takes. Then to negate that, Shankaracharya says, see, when we see an object, we get knowledge about the object. And we say an example, so we look at this book, we look at this laptop, we look at this phone. So we say book exists, phone exists, mobile exists, laptop exists, whatever. Now, there are two thoughts that come into our mind. One is the book. The second is existence. Similarly, when we have this laptop exists, we have the laptop as one thought, it exists as another thought. So there are two vrittis in our mind, in our buddhi. And one buddhi remains constant and another buddhi keeps changing. When I see the book and I move it to my eyes to the laptop, I see the book exists and then I see the laptop exists. So the book thought is replaced by the laptop, but the exists is still there. The existence buddhi is still constant. So the Sat buddhi is always there. The Asat buddhi keeps changing. So remember, Shoonyavaada says basically nothing exists. Now Shankaracharya has to prove that there is one which is always present. And that is the existence principle is always present. In other words, there has to be someone who has to say that the whole world is Mitya. The one who says that the whole world is Mitya, that is the Sat Swarupa. That is the existence principle. And therefore, Shoonyam cannot be true. For somebody, I have to be there to tell that everything else is false. So I have to be true. So that is how Shankaracharya establishes or negates Shoonyavaada. Then the next argument could be Nashte, gade. And in that example, he had not taken book or laptop. He had taken pot, book. He had taken pots and book. So in the next line of argument he takes upon is Nashte, gade, sad buddhi na drashyate. Basically what it means is, the moment that the pot is destroyed, the existence is also gone. So, Nashte gade, gade means pot, Sat buddhi na drashyate. The existence also is destroyed, it's not seen. So basically the argument is, once you see the pot, you say pot exists, then you say book exists, but the moment I drop the pot goes along with it, its existence also goes. So the existence buddhi is also destroyed. That is the next line of argument that he takes upon. So Shankaracharya counters in this way. He says, when the pot is destroyed, the existence buddhi is not destroyed. Because when the pot gets destroyed, say the eyes see the next thing, say it looks at a cloth, it looks at a book, and therefore the existence buddhi continues. The existence buddhi is now associated with the cloth, or the existence buddhi is associated now with the book. So the sat buddhi is not destroyed, only the asat keeps changing. Now, so the buddhi continues is what the argument is. Now what we have to establish here is, the existence awareness is present at all times. The object of existence, it could be the pot, it could be the cloth, it could be the book, that alone changes. That is anityam. The book, the cloth, the pot is anityam. But the existence, thought, it keeps continuing. So that is the counter he is bringing. The next argument is, now the person could argue, say, let the pot awareness also exists. Why do you say only the existence awareness is there? The pot awareness could also be there. So now is the counter. This third line of argument is basically to say, previously the objection was, the sat is a asat. The existence will also be destroyed. Now when we say no, the existence continues, because the moment I see another article, the existence is continuing. It just continues. The existence thought is always there. So that after having established this, the other line of this line of argument is, why can't the asat now also be sat? What we think has to be is destroyed, why can't it also exist? So in other words, even if the pot breaks, even let the pot breaks, but the awareness of the pot, I could see it in another pot. So that buddhi need not be destroyed. The asat buddhi need not be destroyed. So just like the existence buddhi is not destroyed, the awareness of the object can also be remaining the same from one pot to another pot. The moment one pot gets destroyed, another pot comes, my thought can continue, is the argument. So Shankaracharya says, when one pot breaks and another pot appears, the gata buddhi, the gata is the pot, gata buddhi goes away. It goes away for a moment. When it is destroyed, it goes away. And then when the new pot appears, the buddhi again appears. So the awareness of the object keeps coming up and going, keeps coming and going. It keeps coming and going. So because of the awareness of the object keeps coming and going, it has to be treated only as asat. Because asat is the one which keeps coming and going. So anything that comes and goes has to be characterized as only anityam. And what remains constant is nityam. And therefore Shankaracharya says, the pot buddhi cannot be sat, can never be sat. The object buddhi, the pot buddhi or the book buddhi or the cloth buddhi is asatyam, whereas the existence buddhi is satyam. Now, the next line of argument that the other person could bring up, which Shankaracharya brings up on himself, he says the next argument could be, after the pot breaks, the pot awareness is gone. That is what we have established. And when we see from the pot, we see another pot or we see a cloth, then the cloth awareness comes. So now he is giving a counter argument, or suppose the counter argument could be, you say that the existence buddhi is constant, whereas the asat buddhi keeps coming and going. Why can't it be that the existence buddhi also goes away when the pot breaks? So when the pot breaks, the pot buddhi also is gone, the existence buddhi is also gone. And then when the cloth appears, the cloth buddhi comes up, the existence buddhi also comes up. Why can't it be that way? That is the last line of argument, you can say. Now Shankaracharya here he says, the existence is always there, but just that it is not visible. And that is the thing, Nashte gade sadbuddhi na drashyate. Gade, once the pot breaks, the existence is there, but the existence buddhi is there, but it is not visible. And that is this is a very important thing to understand here. Kind of explain it a little later, maybe in the next few classes you will understand. What we are trying to establish here is, and this is the main tattva or the main siddhanta of this philosophy, is that for existence to be experienced, for something to be, that existence itself to be experienced, a nama rupa is required, a form is required, a reflective medium is necessary. For me to realize that I exist, I need this body. The moment the body is not there, I cannot realize that I exist. And therefore, this is the main tattva of the policy. The existence buddhi always exists, but for the existence buddhi to appear, for me to experience the existence buddhi, I need the object. The nama rupa is required. Only when there is a nama rupa, I can experience the existence. And we can establish through another example also. One, of course, I told you, if I know am I alive? Yes, I am alive. How do I know I am alive? I exist. I exist. How do I know I exist? I exist because I can experience this body. I experience this world. There is a famous wording in the t-shirt, right? I think and therefore I am. Something like that. I think and therefore I am. Isn't that the t-shirt wording? Actually, the correct wording should be I am and therefore I think. But that's okay. But what here we mean is I am able to experience this world, and I experience this world because I have this body. The moment I don't have this body, I am not able to experience. But I exist. I exist, but I will not be able to experience. This is one of the most important things for us to remember here. And we can explain this even with an example from science. If you know, the light is actually cannot be seen through our eyes. The light is not, it cannot be seen by our eyes. When we say that I am actually seeing light, what we are seeing is only the reflection of the light on the object. I am able to see this phone because light is reflecting on this phone. I don't see light, I see the reflection of the light on this object. Light will not be visible unless there is a reflective medium. And that's why if you see, in outer space, although when you are outer space, you are much closer to the sun, you see that outer space is so dark. The sun is so bright, but the space is dark. Why is it dark? Because it has got no particles there to reflect light. If there is a star, not a star probably, if there is a planet or if there is a moon where the light reflects on it, then that object gets illumined and we are able to see the reflection of the light on that object. Otherwise, light itself is not visible. And that's why when we see an aeroplane, a flight passing through, we see darkness in front of the lights from the plane. Although the plane has actually got lights, we see darkness there. Only when it goes through a cloud, we see the entire area bright up, because there is a reflective medium. So, in the same way, for us to experience existence, we need an object. Sat cannot be experienced without a reflective medium, this is an important point for us to remember. There has to be a nama rupa, there has to be a name and form for us to experience Sat. So, for us to say Sat is there, existence is there in this world, we need a reflecting, we need a jata object, we need a book, we need a cloth, we need a laptop, we need a phone, whatever. Existence is present in all places. But for it to be experienced, we need an object. I'll repeat, existence is present in all places. But for it to be experienced, we need an object. Okay. Now lastly he says, the entire prapancha is Asat. The entire world is Asat. And Asat is as in Mitya. When he says Asat here, it is Mitya. Now the question could be, you say the whole world, this is the last argument that he takes upon. Now that he has established existence requires names and form for it to be experienced. Now the last argument he takes upon himself and counters it is this argument. The whole world is Asat and Mitya therefore. But existence is also present in all places. Then how can we have Sat and Asat in the same place? Just like, and the argument that the other person brings forth, which he takes as an argument, is basically he says, how can light and darkness exist in the same place? How can Sat and Asat exist in the same place? Just like light and darkness cannot exist in the same place. So basically the questioning is, how can the buddhi that we can have both Sat buddhi and Asat buddhi at the same time? How can we have this buddhi of the cloth, which is Asat, and also have the thought of existence, which is Sat? That is the argument. So, and Shankaracharya says, yes, you are right. Sat and Asat cannot be present at the same time. Sat and Asat cannot be present at the same time. But Sat and Mithya can be present at the same time. Sat and Mithya, how it is can be present at the same time? We will take the easiest example, rope and snake. Rope and snake can exist at the same time. Just like in a mirage, sand and water can exist at the same time. Just like in a pot, when we see the pot and the clay can exist at the same time. Pot is Mithya, name and form. Clay is Satyam. Pot and clay can exist at the same time. Snake and rope can exist at the same time. Sand and water can exist in the same time in the mirage. Just that one existence is false, the other existence is the real existence. So Sat and Mithya can exist at the same time. Sat and Asat can be present in the buddhi at the same time. But Asat buddhi, like the cloth, pot, whatever, and the Sat can exist because one is Satyam, other one is Mithya. So thus Shankaracharya or Acharya, that is how he actually completes his explanation or bhashya for this sloka. As I said, if we understand it, it's fine. If we don't understand it also, it's also fine. It's not very important. And this sloka itself, even if we don't understand now, it's okay, because over a period of time, as we continue listening to Vedanta, all these things will gradually dawn upon us. But this is one of the most important sloka from Advaitic standpoint, from Vedantic standpoint. Okay. So now we'll go to the next sloka. Sloka 17. Avinashitu tad viddhi yena sarvamidham tatam vinashamavyyasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. Avinashitu tad viddhi yena sarvamidham tatam vinashamavyyasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. This is another important sloka where we are establishing another feature of Atma. Remember, we are doing this Atma and Atma Vichara, and only last it took about 2 plus classes to do a Vichara on Atma Satyah Anatma Mithya, or Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. In the 12th sloka, we saw the Atma to be Nityaha, Atma to be ever present at all times. Atma Nityaha. Atma is basically eternal. We saw that in the 12th sloka. And in the 13th sloka, we saw Atma to be Nirvikaraha. Nirvikaraha means one that does not undergo any change. Atma does not undergo any change. And then of course 12, 13, we had 14, 15, we had a deviation. 16 we did Atma Satyah Anatma Mithya. Now in this 17th sloka, we are going to see that Atma Sarvagataha. When you say Sarvagataha, means it is all pervading. Gataha means pervading, Sarvagataha means all pervading. If we say Atma to be Sarvagataha, immediately we can say Anatma to be Alpagataha. Anatma to be, it can be present only in one location. So for example, our body is present only here, now. The body is not present in that room. The body is not present in the past. The body is not present in the future. 100 years back, this body wasn't there. 100 years later, this body will not be there. So, Atma Sarvagataha. This is another Surupa of Atma, another feature of Atma. And from here we also establish, when we say Atma Sarvagataha, that Atma cannot be destroyed. Atma cannot be destroyed. Nobody can destroy Atma. Shankaracharya says, he writes, even Ishvara cannot destroy Atma. The reason is, Atma itself is Ishvara. So, the main takeaway of this sloka is Atma Sarvagataha. So, let us see that. Even if you take science says time and space cannot be separated. Time and space cannot be separated. For example, at a particular time, in this particular space, only say this place where I am sitting, at this time, in this particular time, in this particular space, only one person can sit. Another person can sit in another place at the same time, or another person can sit in the same place at another time. But in one particular space, at one particular time, only one thing can exist, or one thing can be there. In fact, what is accident? Accident is basically when we say road accident or train accident, it means two things want to be at the same place at the same time. That's how accidents happen. Basically, law of nature does not allow it, and therefore there is a collision. So, time and space cannot be separated. Now, when we said Atma Nitya, when Atma is present in all three times without any change, because Atma Nirvikara also, Atma does not have any change. So, if Atma is present in all three times, then it should be present in all three places as well. All places as well. From a time perspective, Atma is eternal, and from a space standpoint, Atma is all pervading. In other words, Atma is Purnaha. That's why we say Purnamadam, Purnaha, Purnavidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate. We say Atma Purnaha. So Atma Sarvagataha. Atma is all pervading. Now one more thing is, if there is something that is all pervading, it has to be formless, isn't it? It cannot have a form. If we say anything is limited, it is limited because it has got some boundaries. So the form of this or a form of anything, if we have to say what is it, the limitation of the thing is actually determined by the boundaries of the object. So for example, this particular hall or this particular room, what is the shape of this room? We say it is, we say it's square or a rectangle or whatever it may be. How do we determine? We look at the boundary of this hall or this room and say the shape depends upon the boundary. If a thing does not have a boundary at all, there is no limiting walls, what will be its shape? It does not have any shape. It is formless. Therefore, Atma, when we say it's all pervading, immediately we can also say if something is all pervading, it has to be formless. So therefore, Atma is formless, Atma is shapeless. The moment we say Nitya hai, Atma becomes Sarvagata hai, and because it is Sarvagata hai, it has to be formless also. Therefore, Atma Nirakara hai. And one of the beautiful things about all these things in creation, Bhagavan always gives an example for us to pick up from. What is the equivalent of, what is the closest example for this? The closest example of this is basically Akasha, space. Atma is formless like space. Remember, space is not Atma. The general tendency, if Atma is present everywhere, space is also present everywhere. So could Atma and space be the one? No, it is not the one. But Atma is also formless, space is also formless. And this is important. To say that Atma is formless is very important. Because many a times there will be some people who would say, I want to experience Atma. I want to see Atma. If Atma is present, where can I see it? How come if Atma exists, how come I am not able to see Atma? And this is important. Our answer is, we will never be able to see Atma. We will be able to see this body, definitely, because the body has a form. And we will be able to see any of the external objects around us. We will be able to see the book, we will be able to see the pot, all these things. But we will not be able to see the Atma. And not because Atma is not existent, but because Atma is formless. And how do we know? So, question is, how can I know that? How do I understand this? The counter question that I will ask is, how do we know there is space? We do not see the space, but without seeing, we accept the existence of space. Isn't it? We even don't realize most of the time about the concept of space. But space exists, we know that. Space is there, and that's why we say, we build a wall and say, this is my room, this is my house, this is my... So we accept the existence of space, even without seeing it. Similarly, we should accept the existence of Atma even though it is invisible. Now, from Atmas Nityaha, we got Atma Sarvagataha, and from Sarvagataha we saw Atma to be formless, Nirakaraha. Now, we can also, get one more corollary out of it. If Atma is all pervading, which means Atma is Sarvagataha, Atma is all pervading, then the question that I would ask is, how many Atmas can be there if Atma is all pervading? The answer is, Atma can be only one. Atma ekaha. If Atma is all pervading, there can be only one Atma. Or rather, only if Atma is one, we can say it can be all pervading. If there are multiple Atmas, how can all Atmas be all pervading? How can all Atmas be present at all times? So Atma has to be ekaha. This is now very important. Now we are going from basically Advaitam. Because in Dvaita and other places, Atma is, that's why they don't even say Atma to be all pervading, the Jivatma to be all pervading. In Dvaitam, Visishta Advaitam and all, they will not even accept that the Atma is all pervading. But because the moment you accept the Atma to be all pervading, Atma has to be only one. There cannot be multiple Jivatmas. There has to be only one Atma. And only if there is one Atma, that Atma can be all pervading and cannot be present in all times. If there are two Atmas, Atma A, Atma B, then Atma A cannot be in the same place where Atma B is present at the same time. But we also know Atma is present at all times. And therefore, Atma is Nityaha, Sarvagataha, Nirakaraha, Ekaha. Atma is eternal, all-pervading, formless, single. There can be only one Atma. What is the closest example? Where there is only one space. There are no multiple spaces. There is only one space. If I actually limit this by a wall, it becomes a room. If I limit it with a compound wall, it becomes a house. If I limit it with a gantry or something, it becomes a city. If I have boundaries around the fence, and then it becomes country. But the space is only one. Similarly, Atma is only one. The same Atma is in ant, is in a plant, is in me, is in Ishvara. It is the same Atma. Atma is just one. There is one space. The hall, the living, the bedroom, everything is limited. You may have different names for the limited space, but the space itself is just one. If there are 5 houses next to each other, we don't say 5 space. There is only one space. Houses are counted. Space is not counted. In the same way, anatmas are counted. Atma is not counted. So, Atma sarvagata hai, Atma eka hai. Now, let us go into this sloka. Avinashi tu tad viddhi yena sarvamidham tatam. Avinashi tu tad viddhi. Viddhi tattu. Viddhi tattu. Viddhi means know. Tattu means know that. Know that. Know that means what? What is the meaning of that here? That means Atma here. Know that Atma to be, what he says, Avinashi. Avinashi means imperishable. There is Avinashi Lingam. There is also a town near called Avinashi near Coimbatore. Avinashi means imperishable. Vinashi means perishable, destructible. Avinashi means imperishable. And this explanation, Avinashi, Bhagavan has already given when he said Atma Nitya. When Atma Nitya means it is eternal, which means it cannot be destroyed. Atma is already, Bhagavan has said, now he is reiterating the same. So Bhagavan is presenting in a different language. So instead of saying it is eternal, he says it is indestructible. The reason is for us to clearly understand these concepts again and again. Vinashi means perishable, destructible. Avinashi means indestructible. So when there is pot, if we see a pot, what is the equivalent of Atma in a pot? The equivalent of Atma in a pot is clay. Pot is Anatma, clay is Atma. Suppose we take that kind of, if you want to have a comparison or an analogy there. Suppose if we put down the pot, what happens? The pot is destroyed. The clay does not get destroyed. The clay continues to exist. The clay is indestructible. In the same way, the Anatma, the body is destroyed. Atma is indestructible. Atma Avinashi. And therefore, know that. Tad viddhi. Know that, Arjuna. Know that Atma is indestructible. Basically, he is emphasizing, know that, Arjuna, realize this, Arjuna, ascertain this, Arjuna, internalize this, Arjuna, make sure that you get this into your mind, Arjuna, or he is basically explaining to us also, know this, that the Atma cannot be destroyed. And then he adds another nature of Atma, yena sarvam idam tatam. Now he says that the whole creation is pervaded by Atma. Yena sarvam idam. Yena means that Atma. Tatam. Tatam means pervaded. It is, know that this Atma is pervaded where? Sarvam idam. All this, whatever we see, that Atma is pervaded. The Atma is pervaded by all that we see here. So Atma sarvagataha. Atma is all pervading. And Bhagavan is saying, basically he is saying, know that to be the imperishable one by which all this is pervaded. That which is indestructible, understand that is also all pervading, is what Bhagavan says. So, Atma, Avinashi, Atma, Sarvagataha. Now, this is the first line. Now, in the second line, he says, Bhagavan is saying, Atma is not going to be destroyed. Vinasham avyayasya. Vinasham avyayasyasya. So, asya avyayasya. Asya avyayasya. Avyayasya asya. So, basically he is saying, Vinasham avyasya asya. Na kaschit kartum arhati. Na kaschit kartum arhati means na kaschit, no one. Arhati kartum. Arhati kartum means no one can bring about. Na kaschit arhati kartum. Nobody can bring about what? Vinasham. Vinasham means destruction. Destruction. Nobody can bring about the destruction of what? Asya avyayasya. Asya means this. Asya means this. Of what this? And how does he call this Atma to be? Avyayasya. Avyayasya means changeless. Remember we saw nirvikaraha. 13th shloka we saw nirvikaraha. Atma does not undergo any change. He is again bringing that same concept. He says avyayasya. It is changeless. Atma is changeless. Atma is indestructible. Atma is sarvagataha. And because it is sarvagataha, it is nirakaraha. And because it is nirakaraha, it is ekaha. We are taking away corollaries from there. And he says nobody can destroy this Atma. Even Ishvara cannot destroy. Even atom bombs cannot destroy. The whole world will undergo destruction, pralayam. The whole world will undergo destruction in pralayam times. Atma will not be destroyed at all. So basically here, if we look at from the standpoint of Arjuna, Krishna, Bhagavan says, why are you worried that Bhishma is killed, Drona is going to be killed? Bhishma is who? Atma. Drona is who? Atma. They are not going to be killed. Atma cannot be destroyed. And you are not going to destroy anything, Arjuna. You are not going to destroy the Atma. Forget it. Nobody can destroy Atma. And when we listen to all these shlokas or when we listen to all these concepts, what we should understand is we should not be thinking Atma to be a third person entity. Atma is me. I am this Atma. I am indestructible. Then we say, oh no, but I am decaying, I am dying, I am actually having this knee pain, body pain and all those things. No, that is for the body. I am the Atma. When I place my abhimana on the body, I am alpam. When I place my abhimana, when I own up to this body, when I consider myself to be this body, of course, I have all these problems in the body. I have all these problems for the body. But when I own up to Atma, I get the same characteristics as Atma. I am eternal. I am all pervading. I am indestructible. Body gets destroyed, not Atma. So what will happen to the Atma when the body gets destroyed? Will it go to another place? Will Atma get another place? Will it travel? Answer is no. We already saw Atma to be sarvagataha. Atma is all pervading. When I destroy this room, when I take away this hall, when I destroy this house, what will happen to the space here? The space remains as it is. The space will not be destroyed. The space will also not move. The space will be there as it is. In the same way, even when the body is destroyed, the Atma always exists. It's always there. Just like, in an open space, it's not useful. I need to have a hall space. If I build some walls around it, it becomes useful for me. I can do things privately here. I can do what I want. When I build walls around it, it becomes useful. When there is an enclosure, it is useful. When there is no enclosure, it is useless. Similarly, when the body is there, the Atma is useful for transaction. When the body is not there, Atma is there, but there is no body there to transact. So there is nothing available for the Atma to transact. So in this sloka, Bhagavan, he has used the word avyayasya. Vyayaha means expense. In Shastras, Vyayaha is actually used to represent. Vyayaha means change. Vyayaha means decline, decay. Avyayaha means there is no decay. Basically, when Bhagavan says avyayasya, means there is no decay for Atma. All this decay, change, expenses are only for the body. For Atma, there is no expense. All the expenses we are doing are only for this body. Whatever we are buying as clothes, as jewelry, as whatever, to make it look beautiful, to make it look good, to make it look young, to make it look handsome, whatever, we are only doing for Anatma. Only Anatma is Vyayaha, is expense. For Atma, there is no expense. And again, Shankaracharya gives actually two reasons why Atma can be, Atma has to be Avyayaha. He says, which can go to decay is basically one that has got Avyayam. Avyayam means only when something has got a part, when differentiated parts, or only when something has got divisions. Only those things can go for a decay. For example, the body has got different parts: hands, legs, head, trunk, all those different parts. There are divisions in the body. Similarly, a tree, if you take a tree, has got trunk, branches, leaves, flowers, fruits, whatever. That's got divisions. So only those that have divisions will go through decay. So the decay happens for our body and slowly destroys the whole body. So the decay is unavoidable. Decay for the body is unavoidable. But Atma does not have any divisions, and therefore it is Avyayaha. It is Niravyavyam, and therefore Avyayaha. Niravyayam means, Avyayam means there is no body parts, there are no parts to the Atma. It's a single entity, and therefore it is Avyayaha. The second thing is practical one. A person, he need not undergo change. By nature, what happens, even we need not undergo change. But if we are around things that are actually decaying around us, if there are things around us that are actually negative, we tend to be negative. Things around us decay, then we also tend to decay. Because what we have as attachment around, on whom we have attachment on, will determine our mental, our physical health as well. If we are too attached to something which is actually decaying, we also decay. We typically have our attachments on our property, our house, our wealth, car, or our relations, spouse, children, whatever. And whatever changes are happening around that will also determine how we actually, on our mental state as well. Atmiya bhavam, atmiya bhavat nashaha. Whatever we are having our attachment towards is all the decay, things that can undergo decay, and therefore we also decay. Whereas Atma does not think of anything to be its. It is our mind which thinks, this is mine, this is my house, this is my body, this is my children, these are my children, these are my things. It's only the mind which thinks those things. Atma does not think of anything to be its. Atma does not have any abhimana on anything. So Atma, Vyayam is not possible for Atma, decay is not possible for Atma. And just because another question could come, whereas the Anatma is on Atma, and the Anatma is decaying, will it not decay the Atma also? Because the Anatma is actually on top of Atma. And will the decay of Anatma, will it actually cause the decay of Atma also? Then we take the example of rope and snake again. Will can the snake cause the decay of the rope? The snake cannot cause the decay of the rope. The mirage is not going to decay the desert. Although the desert is the adhara for the mirage, the rope is the adhara for snake. The snake is not going to be the cause of decay. Just because the snake decays, the rope is not going to decay. And similarly, the Anatma is going to decay, Atma is not going to decay. So what we should do to avoid decay? We should not think anything to be ours. Anything around us is all given by Bhagavan. It's all Bhagavan's. I am just a custodian. I am just a trustee of what has been given to me. And I have to ensure that whatever has been given to me is used in the rightful manner. And that includes the money, the possessions that I have, the wealth I have, the body that has been given to me, and all those, also the mind. So this is the takeaway that we have to take from this sloka. Finally, to repeat, nobody can destroy this Atma. The body can be destroyed. Atma is not destroyed. Atma is eternal. Atma is all pervading. Atma is formless. Atma is single. There is only one Atma. So this is sloka number 17. We will see sloka number 18 in the next class. Any questions or comments before quickly closing up? No. Okay. We will again meet in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo.